Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a late Saturday night. But we're here to recap the games for today and kind of preview the games for tomorrow. How you doing, Eric?
Pretty good, man. We got a late night Saturday edition. Looking forward to kind of discussing some of the games from today, a little preview for tomorrow. So things are good. What about yourself? How's your Saturday going?
Oh, yeah, man. Just got back, but we had to do the Hoops Rehab Show. So, late night edition. And so I'm ready to get it cracking, man. But as always, Pete, please follow us at our handles at Game Injury Doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries, and Eric B. Mack. You can follow us on all the social media platforms, as well as the Hoops Rehab Show on YouTube and Instagram. And don't forget, after the show, we'll upload the pod on Apple and Spotify. So wherever you get your podcasts, you can get on some other platforms as well. But it's under the Hoops Rehab Show. Please rate, comment, like, share with friends. We appreciate all the feedback. And as always, if you guys have anything to say, please comment on the YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter comments, and we'll try to get to it throughout the show. My man already on the show, Cam Miller. What's up, Doc? How you doing, Cam? Hope you're doing well. I know you're excited about those news yesterday, so we'll get into that a little bit today.
What up, Cam? I think you're in New York, right? It's like what time is it over there? Like 1:30. So appreciate you being up with us for sure.
I know Cam's always gonna be on the show, so we love it, Cam.
Appreciate
All right,
that.
Eric. Let's get it cracking with today's games, and we'll dive right into it. Minnesota goes into Golden State and gets a win and takes the series to a 2-1 lead. What'd you see? How'd you feel about the game? And what are your thoughts moving forward there?
So just preliminary thoughts. I think that Golden State probably feels like they obviously lost one, but they probably really, really feel like there was a game that they should have had. I know they started off a little cold, but then really were in control for the most part in the second and the third and beginning of the fourth. Didn't have a huge lead by any means, but were just really a pest on defense. And Jimmy Butler was having an amazing game. And so I thought they had to probably feel pretty good, but kind of what I was thinking is going to happen in this series. And of course, it's a long ways to being over, where I feel like this happens when you have a team that's just, let's be honest, a little bit more talented right now, especially with Steph Curry being out. When you have your star out, you have the others that could step up. And I mean, obviously Golden State is coached tremendously well. They have a guy like Jimmy Butler. They have Draymond Green. They got a lot of good guys. They got a lot of guys that are just ball players. And I know they can stay in games, but as a series progresses, we always say, right, the best team usually wins a series. And in these kind of situations, I feel like as a series is going to go on, adjustments. I mean, games 1, 2, and 3, you can make adjustments, but after that, I think it's just a matter of like who plays better. And when a game is close, I think is where the Warriors are missing Steph Curry, and we saw that tonight. We'll break down what happened with Draymond Green, obviously, too, at the end there. But that's kind of what I'm seeing so far. I see it as 2-1. Obviously, Golden State could win game 4 and make it a series. But the way it's going, I think Minnesota is on the verge of wrapping this one up soon. What about you?
I got one player for you. Julius Randle. Triple-double. 24, 12, and 10. And you need a guy that's going to get you 22 in this playoffs. That is Julius Randle. So far, he's averaging 22 in both of the first round and the second round series. He's playing that second fiddle role to Anthony Edwards to a T. And I think he has finally found his footing. Because if you remember when this year started, Julius Randle on a Minnesota Timberwolves roster did not seem like the ideal player for Anthony Edwards to go along with Gobert. But Chris Finch has done a hell of a job to get the most out of Julius Randle, and I think he's done a hell of a job as a player. So I think he has been a difference maker in this series. Obviously, Warriors not having Steph changes the dynamics of the series. It changes the way the Warriors play. Their pace of play is so different without Steph. It's almost like a 90s playoff team where it's just like grind it out. Scores going to be in the 90s. Like they can't get as many points. When you're some of the averages 27 to 30 points a game, it's hard to fill that role. Man, it's going to be tough. And you know that Steph is going to try to get back as best he can, but just deal with the injury that's not, you can't really speed up time. And before he gets back, you're looking at possibly not getting back to a game 6. And the question now is, will there even be a game 6? What do you do there?
That is a big question. I mean, just your first point about Julius Randle. So it's the second Minnesota Timberwolf ever to have a triple-double in the playoffs, which I thought was pretty crazy. So Kevin Garnett was the
I was going to say I was thinking Kevin Garnett, but I was like, I just couldn't think of anybody else.
Yep, no, that's it. So obviously he's in as far as a Minnesota Timberwolves franchise, that's I mean, they needed everything that they got from him. And so, I mean, I remember before the Lakers and Timberwolves series was one thing that you were kind of talking about where we thought where Minnesota was going to be the downfall of Minnesota was we knew they had Ant Edwards, but who was going to be that second guy? And Julius Randle, you can really just basically pencil him in for 25, right? And he's doing a little bit of everything. He's playing defense. Obviously, he's getting assists, getting rebounds like he did tonight. And so, man, they've definitely found that number 2 guy. And so they'll need him obviously going forward. And in terms of your point about Golden State, I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and have just an amazing performance. Maybe one of these guys like Healed or Pods or who had a really bad night tonight just gets really hot and maybe they still won at home. But as I mentioned earlier, I would not be surprised if just the fact that you don't have Curry, the Warriors I was telling myself in the first half, to your point, like they have to try to find some offense. They only shot 5 3-pointers in the first half. And it's funny because we're kind of saying, like, for example, Boston, like, why are you shooting so many threes? But it's a little bit opposite with the Warriors where they have to try to find some easy baskets. And they're not really getting them right now. And so that's where I see it's going to be tough for them moving forward.
Speaking of Pods, he's having a series to forget at this point.
1 for 10 tonight.
With Steph Curry injured, it's like you needed one of the guards, somebody to step up, and he just was 1 for 10 tonight, 5 points, just not getting it done. I mean, he's playing 39 minutes, right? So you're getting out of 39 minutes, you're getting 5 points out of him. That's just not enough. And in order for the Golden State Warriors to at least win game 4 and even that up, and need to get a big game out of Pods next game. Because obviously you saw Kuminga do his thing today off the bench, and that's something that we're going to kind of get into a little bit too as well. Him and Butler had great games, but you just didn't have that third player really doing much after that. So he needs to figure it out, or Steve Kerr is going to have to tinker with the lineup to figure out if they can get somebody else in there that can kind of get it done.
Absolutely. I mean, Steve Kerr, obviously, so you made a point after the game. They asked him about Pods. And I mean, he mentioned, look, like Pods he didn't say this verbatim, but he said Pods is not like typically like a high volume scorer, but you do need a little bit more than 1 for 10. You got to have 2 or 3 guys to pick up the scoring for Curry. And so while he said he doesn't expect Pods to obviously score the 35 points or 30 points that Curry would, but you'd probably want him to have a little bit more impact, hit some open shots. And so another thing too, Jimmy Butler, he had a really, really good game. And so the beautiful thing about having Jimmy Butler with Curry is Jimmy Butler can kind of just be behind the scenes, like doing all the dirty work, kind of like a Draymond in a way, right? Just being an anchor on defense and then picking his spots on offense. But it's different. Now he's the man. He's got to be everything on both sides of the floor. And that could take a toll ultimately. So that's something to look at too.
Yeah. I like to give at least some props to the guy that we've told to stay ready, Jonathan Kuminga, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I have questioned at times why Steve Kerr has kind of just messed with him, because I feel like he's just gone from he's always either not playing or playing, right? Like playing big minutes to not playing any minutes. And tonight he had a big game, and I think they're going to need obviously more of that moving forward. And at least maybe they found a way to play Jimmy and Kuminga together, which they were having difficulty throughout the season when Jimmy got there. And partly because when Steph is there, it does change the dynamics. So I think that will be a big key for them going into game 4. At least they know that they can count on those two, and they just need that third person to kind of step up. And even Draymond, right? I'm having 2 points. He's not going to be a big scorer, but like getting something out of him would be nice. And they didn't get much tonight.
Yeah, Kuminga. Sorry, Jonathan Kuminga. It was something that it was a little strange to just like when they didn't trade him in the Butler trade. Everybody was like, "Wow, I can't believe they didn't have to give up Kuminga," and all of a sudden he fell out of the rotation. But I know you talked about earlier in the playoffs that you felt like he's a type that probably will stay ready, and he was. I mean, he's a pro. Yeah. He's had 2 really good games. Now they've lost, obviously both games, but it is what it is. It's just because they're undermanned, in my opinion. And so, they're going to need him to really do what he's been doing the last 2 games, plus another player like a Draymond. And so, we didn't touch on it, but I know you guys must have seen. I think a really, really big moment is when he fouled out, and so, basically Minnesota was up 2. They called the foul on Minnesota challenge. So not only did they reverse that play, but instead they called the foul on Draymond. So he picked up his 5th. The very next possession, they were talking about the guys on the call. Should you take out Draymond, just for like a minute or something? And they were like, no, I mean, there's only 4 minutes left in the game, and he's pretty good at playing with 5 fouls. Literally, first possession, he picks up his 6th foul, and just like that. And obviously, like again, it just even that more pressure on Jimmy Butler to be amazing on both sides without Green in there. And so,
sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what game 4 brings, but it was a tough one for sure for Golden State tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question to you: does this put any more pressure on Steph Curry at this point? Try to hurry back for a possible game 5 at this point, because obviously he's not going to play game 4. But does this make him think, second guess? I guess if it were to go down 3-1, that's more desperation. I don't think he plays in that game 5, because then it's like, all right, you guys are already down 3-1. That makes the series pretty difficult. But if they barely kind of get by a game 4, make it 2-2, and then come back for a game 5, it's like, is that something they're willing to risk, or Steph is willing to risk? And my end, from my physical therapy standpoint, is you don't want to risk it just for that game, because you're more than likely risking it for the rest of the playoffs, right? So if you can get that break that's between game 5 and 6, which is 3 days of rest, which will hopefully the point where he could possibly give it a game go in game 6. That's your best case scenario. But no matter what, you got to win game 4, or else this series is more than likely not going to be looking good for Golden State if they're down 3-1 without Steph.
I think with that big gap, so the game 5 would be Wednesday, and they still haven't ruled them out for game 5, obviously. If it is 2-2, I mean, I got to think Warriors are kind of in the mindset of like, if they can, right now, if you told them they can make it ticket to a game 7 with like Curry playing, they would probably take it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it'd be tough on the road and everything. And so I feel if they get game 4, you obviously wouldn't concede a game 5. They're still going to go try and win. But because, I mean, obviously, unless he's totally fine and he's going to play, right? But if it's like a little bit of a doubt, that extra 3 days, and you would, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like that extra 3 days could be pretty huge. Yeah. And then obviously, because if he plays game 5, tweaks it a little bit, then you could forget about it, right? He's probably done for a while. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because there's different school of thoughts. If you're down 3-1, it's really desperation mode, and maybe he plays then. But then it's like if he's not like close to being ready, then you don't want to like have him out there being a shell of himself. And so,
For sure.
I'd have to think unless he's like ready, we probably won't see him till Sunday, Game 6, if there is a Game 6, of course.
Yeah, and likely what they've said is like he's out a minimum until Game 6. I mean, unless barring some scene change, right? So
Yeah,
I think it's kind of null and void there, and those extra days off will hopefully give him, because let's see, Game 4 is going to be Monday, Game 5 is Wednesday, and then you're off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then come back on Sunday, right? Or they play on Saturday or Sunday? Sunday, right? Yeah. So that would be the Game 6 where you're like, okay, now he's been out almost basically 12 days. And then a Game 7 will be exactly 2 weeks from when he injured it. So I think that's a likely scenario for him to get back. But regardless, they got to win Game 4, or else is probably not worth any of the conversation.
Yeah, got to get that one.
All right, sure. So that was a good little game there, and you saw that Anthony Edwards dunk. I mean, you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one of those every series.
We didn't talk about it, but that really got him going. Because he got that dunk and then he hit a 3 right after, and then it was just almost all Ant Edwards going forward. And so sometimes it takes a play like that just to get some kind of spark. And damn, that ended up being obviously a huge play overall.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh.
All right, so let's get to the other game of the day, the Celtics and the Knicks. And what'd you see here? Because I kind of figured it was going to be a little bit more of the same of Boston going up big. And this time they were able to close it out. So what'd you see in this game?
Actually, I forgot to point out. So road teams in the second round are 9-3, which is pretty crazy. Yep. Like you don't see that often. And so that's like a segue to the Boston Celtics. Who, remember last show I told you they're actually been quite a bit better on the road in the playoffs versus at home the last 4 seasons. And so I'm in two schools of thought in this series right now. So if you're a Knick fan or if you're a Knick player, staff, you got to be thinking, all right, we don't really care how we got the first 2 games, right? We got them. We're up 2-1. We have earned the right to just have to win one home game at a 3-4. I mean, let's be honest, they weren't going to sweep Boston. So they earned that right. And so that's got to be what coach is probably telling them. Like, hey, we knew it was going to be tough. We probably weren't going to go up 3-0. We just got to get Game 4 and to get like a stranglehold of the series. And so that's the message I'd be telling my team, and I'm sure that's what he's saying. But for the Celtics side, for a team that lost their first 2 games at home, in my lifetime, watching a lot of playoff basketball, and I've seen that happen, a number of times. I've never felt like this confident for a team that happened to, mainly because, let's be honest, like all 3 games, granted Boston shot like pretty tremendous from the 3-point line today, at least in the first half. All 3 have really almost gone the same, where they've built up at least a 20-point lead. Obviously today's was a little bit larger, but Boston has really controlled all 3 games, and there's been a little bit of an anomaly, I believe, the first 2. And so Boston has to be feeling really, really good. I think they're like, hey man, we know what we got to do against this team. We just got to finish. And today they did that. So what about you? What are you seeing in this series?
Yeah, I see 3 straight games of 20-point leads by the Celtics. Obviously they blew those in the 2, and in Game 3 they decided to finally show up in the second half and fourth quarter and finish the game off. I talked about this last time. If I'm the Knicks, I am shaking in my boots, because if the Celtics get 2 in New York, this series is over. And it's just a matter of like number one, the confidence that the Celtics have in their team and talent. They live and die by the three, and they're going to continue to shoot it. And they made 20 tonight, 20 for 40.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, that's a lot of threes, a lot of points. Pritchard obviously had a big game. It seemed like Porzingis was he's still dealing with whatever he's dealing with, right? He only played 19 minutes. He's come off the bench. I'm not too quite sure this mysterious illness is because he hasn't really talked about it. But they're still getting leads of 20 points every single game. Right? Yeah. So, man, it's to me, Game 4 obviously is going to be one of the biggest games for New York because I'm telling you right now, if they go down in that game by 20 again, they're not coming back in that game. Not going to happen. They gotta try to get the lead early in this game and try to keep it early. I don't know if they can. It's like they're almost shook in a way. Like they've come back in these two games. Like you said, there's like two schools of thoughts, right? It's like they've gotten those two games, they're up, right? They went into this game in that mentality. And I think that's just the wrong mentality to go into. I know it's so hard to win 3 games against Boston, but when you got them kind of down and you beat them at home, you just can't let them creep back in. And I think the Knicks exactly did that. And you don't know what's going to happen, right? I got injured tonight, supposedly. We don't know for sure, but it looks like he either broke or fractured a finger. So things like that, right? You don't know how he's going to react to that. You don't know how he's going to play in Game 4. So I think the Knicks, obviously they tried their best to try to finish off the series in this game and lose by 3-0, and it can happen. So.
Knicks, they have to win the next game. This is not one of those series where, hey, if it gets to 2-2, right? Hey, it's a 3-game series. Anything could happen. No. Just because the way you won those games and the way Boston has dominated you, let's be honest, they have. I don't know what New York has to do different, but they got to do something different in the beginning of these games. I was watching today. Boston was just a step quicker in every asset of the game. One thing Boston has done well all 3 games is defend, and so they continued to do that today, obviously. And so they swarm you. That's no surprise. They've been doing that for a few years now, and so it's just New York's got to keep it close. And I think if they keep it close, it'll kind of the games 1 and 2 could creep up to Boston in the back of their minds. If Boston goes up 20-30, they already know they can shut things down like they did today. And so, Knicks have to come out strong. They got to be the aggressor. They have to build the lead. They got to be up 8 to 10 points early. And that's the only way they're going to do it. I feel they're playing a little bit better when they have Mitchell Robinson in, but they're doing the hack of Mitch, and it's not. Have you seen those? Do you see those free throws from Mitchell Robinson? Oh my god!
I'm just saying they showed his career playoff percentage, and it's like 34%. And we thought Shaq was bad.
It's all between the ears right now. It's all between the ears. He
shot 12 free throws, so it's going to be one of those things is like, he makes them a better defensive team, 100%. Right. But how much is he a liability if they're going to start playing where they slow down the game, foul him, trade for a 3, foul him, trade for a 3, they're going to speed up the game on their end, but on your end, you're just getting stopped. Right. And Mazzulla kind of does it like in little segments where it's like, all right, we're going to take advantage of it right now. Kind of go to it another time and then kind of go to another time. Right. So it's going to be an issue moving forward, and we'll see if that breaks up the pace of play for the Knicks, right, when they're trying to get things moving, and it kind of makes them a little more stagnant whenever you kind of hack original term hack a Shaq, but hack a Robinson,
hack a Mitch,
hack a Mitch. So
I was thinking like, okay, maybe if they foul him, like one thing that it's doing like in the Knicks' favor is it's getting him into the penalty sooner. But as you said, Coach, Mazzulla, he's doing it in like just picking his spots. Like they're being like strategic and smart about it. And so Big fella's got to, at least he's got to knock down 1 or 2. That's what it is. If he get knocked down 1 or 2, obviously if he knocks down 2, they're going to stop it. But just at this point, you got to knock down at least 1 of the 2, and hopefully that his defense creates stops, in turn, obviously, helps the Knicks out. So it's going to be tough for them to win another game in this series. But yeah, game 4 is the series in our obviously both of our opinions.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt as not confident in a 2-1 team that I do with the Knicks. And that was,
I know. It's crazy.
And that was going into game 3, because we talked about it last show, and I said to you, Knick fans, and I'll say it again: if you lose 2 at home, this series is over. I guarantee it. Okay, so whatever you need to do in game 4, you need to put it all on the court and dominate as much as you can. But you can't have these first halves again. You just can't.
No way.
You can't go another first half where the Celtics are dominating and you're just not there, and you're going to turn it on in the fourth quarter, because that's just not going to happen. Celtics are not going to let that happen again in this series. I can guarantee they were not going to give up another 20-point lead in this series.
No. I mean, like we reported last round or last show, like this is the first time somebody has come back, like, obviously 2 games in a row in the playoffs down 20. So, yeah, Knicks, their games 1 and 2 is definitely not a recipe for success. And we saw that today. And so I'm just hoping for a close game, and obviously let's, whoever the best team at the end wins, and, we go from there.
All right. So that brings us to our next segment. Something happened today, and that involves Karl Anthony Towns of the New York Knicks. So it looks like he could possibly be dealing with a broken hand, possibly fractured finger. In his press conference interview, when they asked if he had a broken hand, he said, "It is what it is, and I'm going to keep finding ways to play." So I tripped, according to Karl Anthony Towns. And then they asked him if he underwent an X-ray. He said, "I'm going to let them tell you that." Right. So obviously the Knicks are playing that kind of game. They're not going to tell you exactly what's going on. But if you saw the Twitter video, or if you saw a kind of link in the video when he did get his hand caught and kind of hit, you can see a mouth, "I broke my finger." Right. So if any lip readers out there, you kind of can see that. More than likely, something happened to his left hand. Thank goodness it's the left side versus the right side, because if he had a broken finger on the right, it'd probably be very, very difficult to play. But even if he did break his hand or broke his finger, he's going to have some difficulty with that left hand, with ball handling, passing, defense, all rebounding, all that's going to bother it every time he has it. So he's probably going to have to do the buddy tape, where he tapes 2 fingers together to kind of start the other, and just kind of roll with it that way. What'd you see kind of when that all went down?
Yeah, we saw him lip that. Yeah, he obviously that he broke something, and so it's not a non-shooting hand, but at the same time, yeah, it's better to not have that than to have it, of course. And little things could obviously have an effect on it. I mean, we know that Tatum had a injury on his hand, obviously round 1, and so maybe that's affecting him a little bit, because he's not shooting the ball that great. He started off really hot to start the game, but something to kind of think about with Tatum. But yeah, I mean, honestly, Cat, like, geez, yeah, he's got to just, on the defensive end, I was watching him, he was getting cooked, man. Like I could see what Boston is doing, like that pick and roll action up top, and Tatum just going to work on him. And I know Cat's finger is not going to keep him from stepping up and obviously guarding Tatum from shooting a 3, because I saw a few times there was just a little bit of miscommunication. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, like, the longer a series goes, little freak injuries could happen. And so hopefully he's all right, and hopefully he could still shoot the ball, because his shooting is going to be important. They're trying to find some offense, which they're not really getting in the first half or first 3 quarters. And if they don't have him, it's going to be tough from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not too bad, and he's able to play through. I don't know. I'm assuming they're going to have to release something about it.
Yes,
I would think that's part of the rules of the NBA. So we would likely hear
probably.
something tomorrow. And he's more going to play through it regardless. And then that brings us to Mr. Steph Curry himself, and we kind of talked about this earlier. We are at about 5 days since his hamstring strain, right? On Tuesday, it will be a week. So, or I guess we were like, what was it, Tuesday, Wednesday? 5 days total. So the problem with the hamstring, right, and any soft tissue injuries, and like we talked about before in the past, is that they take time to heal no matter what. So he's just in the middle of that process right now, and I know he's not really doing much on court activity. Just some stationary shooting, but not moving around that much, right? So that's the difficult that these type of injuries play for a player, because even imagine just taking it off like a week or week and a half and then having to go ramp up back up and play a physical NBA playoff game, right? A game 6.
Yeah.
Imagine you're taking about a week and a half off and you probably haven't done much cardio. You probably haven't done much running around. And then you maybe test it for like a day or two and then you're out on the court. It's a totally different thing. Like it's uncharted territory for Steph because this is his first real soft tissue injury, first hamstring injury. And so you're hoping for the best with him, but I think like the likely scenario is that he comes back for like a game 6 or 7. And at that point, if the Warriors are trying to win this series, that's the only way they're going to win the series if more than likely he comes back for that game.
Yeah, look, it's bad luck, obviously, that this happened to him and to the team. And so I know we talked about it earlier. We didn't mention the part that we're kind of obviously going back and forth, wondering if he'd come back game 5 or 6. But the thought that he has not done any on-court activities, and even for these players that are probably in the best shape of any humans in the world, when you don't do the activity you always typically do for about a week and a half, and you come back to playoff basketball against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are going to defend the hell out of you, it's going to be tough. Like, so even if he does come back, as you mentioned, you almost can't really expect Steph to be the same Steph that we're accustomed to. And so, yeah, man, I don't know this other than like, it's just a tough injury and it just sucks for obviously the Golden State faithful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but we're hoping the best to see your star players, especially somebody like Steph Curry, because I felt like this team was a championship team with Steph Curry, and it's just going to be difficult to get by this Timberwolves team. I do think the Golden State Warriors roll out game 4 different and ready to play and try to get that game. I think they will get game 4, which will make things a much, much better scenario kind of moving forward for the Warriors in this series.
Yeah, I can see it happening. And they obviously need it, as we spoke about earlier.
That's for sure. All right, so we got 2 games in the association tomorrow for the playoffs. We got the Indiana Pacers and Cavs series with the Indiana Pacers up 2-1, game 4 in Indiana. And then we got the Denver Nuggets and OKC Thunder, which Denver is leading that series, which was a great game. You also going into overtime in game 3. So let's start with the Pacers and the Cavs and your thoughts kind of heading into game 4 with that one.
So similar to Boston, I mean, it was a different type of series, but similar to Boston and the Boston series. Like, I mean, you had to feel like that Cleveland and Boston they're not going to go out like that. And so obviously it helped getting some of their guys back or all their guys back for Cleveland. We saw that they're just much better. Obviously and I know you were mentioning yesterday with Mobley being out there, he plays such a big part in everything they do defensively and offensively. And so I see a team that is kind of once again taking control of the series, especially obviously if they win game 4. I think similar to New York, obviously not quite the same feeling. I think if Indiana does lose, it's still going to be a series no matter what. But man, Donovan Mitchell, we haven't talked about him enough. But when we talk about superstars, we talk about guys just coming in big games and just balling out. Man, he's been amazing. He had 48, obviously, in a loss in game 2, 43 last night. And so he's picking up putting his team on his back, and he's just super consistent. He's obviously a scorer. And so I don't know. I just gut feeling. I see Cleveland tying up the series. I think Indiana will play better. I think Halliburton, I think we had one of those games in game 3 that makes you like, oh my gosh, this is the Halliburton that sometimes people say he's overrated, right? And so I don't know. I mean, what did you see? I know you saw a better Cleveland team on Friday for sure, and that has to do with Mobley being there.
Yeah, there's one player for me, man. I watched Evan Mobley in that first half, and I was just amazed by his skill set. He's 6'11", lanky, probably has a huge wingspan, but they put him in a 3-2 zone. I've never seen this before with a big. A 3-2 zone with him at the top of the point at the 3-point line, going from the 3-point line to the middle, 3-point line to the middle, and deflecting everything, challenging every shot, getting every rebound, bringing the ball up the court. I mean, he can pass, he can rebound, he can dribble, he can shoot. He's literally the most complimentary big man you can have on a roster. He plays great defense, and he changes what they can do just offensively too as well. So I think he is just literally the key of the series. As long as he's playing, obviously he's back. He didn't look like he showed any issues with his ankle. And I think this is similar to the Boston series, in my opinion. Indiana, you won on the road. You won 2 with kind of an unhealthy Cavs team, right? So you got to take that for, especially that game 2, when it was all right, well, 3 of the Cavs, 3 of their best players aren't playing. Game 1, you technically came back and won it at the end, right? Cavs probably shouldn't have lost that game. So now you're looking at the series a little different, right? Because you're looking at Indiana, where they essentially stole game 1, and you give the team credit because they've obviously won 2, and then you won a game that you're supposed to win because the other team was injured. But Cleveland healthy, I think they are taking game 4, and they're going back to Cleveland, and it's Rap City.
Sayonara.
To me, it's funny because you're like, oh, are these the 2 teams that you predicted to be in the Eastern Conference Finals are down 0-2? I didn't have as much fear with Boston. I had more fear with Cleveland just because of their injuries. But the fact that they were able to come back in game 3 totally made a difference, and you can see why they were so highly rated this year, right? Especially offensive and defensive as a team. So,
even in game 3, so Cleveland was up majority, and Indiana made a little run in the 4th, and I was like, oh man, here we go. And so Cleveland, when you don't have home court advantage and you win those first 2 games, I mean, you got to win one of your home games, obviously coming back, or else, because as you get deeper into the playoffs, the teams are pretty even. So when you have home court advantage, you'll take a 2-2 after 4 because you got 3 games left and 2 of them are at home. And so that's kind of the school of thought. And so when you win, you still won on the road, or you're still 2, you have to win at least game 3 or 4. And then you're in a good spot. And so I do anticipate it being closer, but if the Cavs play like they did in game 3, they're healthy as they are. I know Darius Garland didn't look quite as healthy. And I think you touched on his toe injury. I don't think it's gonna be tough for him to just kind of look like the Darius Garland we're used to. But he did just enough. It looked like out there. But Indiana got to get game 4. I'm sure Cleveland probably feels like they got to win game 4, and I think the winner of that game, just like the Boston and New York series, probably will win the series. Not going on a limb, but that's most likely it.
Yeah, Darius Garland definitely out of the 3 players did not look the healthiest, right? And you can see him actually aggravate the toe injury on one of the plays where he's diving for a loose ball. He kind of you can see his toe got stretched, and then he immediately was like, grinning and in pain. And so I think he's gutting it out. Like, this is an injury that he probably wouldn't normally be playing if it was a regular season. But to me, the difference maker is just the Evan Mobley there, right? Like, if it was Evan Mobley that had the same injury, like a toe sprain, and couldn't do the athletic stuff that he does on the court, I'd be more concerned with that. I feel like Darius Garland providing what he's providing right now is fine. And obviously, Superman Donovan Spida Mitchell is taking over and taking that load that Darius Garland isn't able to do right now. And he's averaging 41.3 in the series.
He's balling.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. He's doing amazing. So yeah, looking forward to tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be just like, obviously Indiana plays fast paced, and Cleveland wants to slow you down a bit, but then you got Mitchell that loves to play fast paced. So I think it's going to be a closer one this time. And Indiana has been able to pull a lot of close games though down the stretch. So I'm not counting them out for sure out of like all the teams, but it should be a fun one.
I'll tell you one thing though, Tyrese Halliburton, don't you bring that game 3. Don't you bring that type of game in game 4.
Don't bring that energy.
Don't bring that, because you're going to get more of those chances of overrated if you're coming out getting 5 and 4 or whatever that game looks like. Okay, I can't have you getting 5 and 4. Okay, it's just not necessary. It's not the way you guys are going to win. Can't win a game like that for Indiana. Okay.
No.
Not that he needs me to give him a pep talk. I'm just saying, like, as your star player, you can't have that out of your star player there.
Yeah, he's got to put up more than 8 shots and be more involved. But yes, sir. So, got one more matchup, to talk about tomorrow.
All right, so let's talk about those Nuggets and Thunder. And I kind of wanted to dive into a little bit of what I see from Denver is that championship experience that they have versus OKC's youth, which is something that we've always talked about with OKC. Yes, they are probably one of the most talented teams in this playoffs. And at times they just show it and crush a team, right? They crushed them in game 2 by 45, 50 points or whatever that was. But then you see this game and it's like, SGA is just not on his game. He's being hounded by Denver the whole game. You got Aaron Gordon, Christian Bond, Westbrook. Everybody's just guarding him like so tough this game. And it's like you had Williams step up and he had a pretty good game as well.
Yep.
But you just didn't have that next step for them, especially when it got to overtime. And let's face it, Mile High City. That fatigue when you get to like a fourth quarter to overtime, it just hits different. I mean, I tweeted out, I've never seen SGA look just this tired in a game. And could have been from altitude, possibly, but that's the home court advantage of the Denver Nuggets, right? But I can't give more praise to a person than Aaron freaking Gordon. Like, his development over the years and since he's been traded to Denver is remarkable and will possibly just put him in the upper echelon of players where if they win another championship at 2, like they win another 1 or 2, whatever it is, I mean, hey, is he a Hall of Fame type of player? Because he's played such a role on a championship team and it can't be stated.
Sorry, I was kind of breaking up there. But before I touch on your point on Gordon, I gotta say out of all the series, this is the one that I'm a little bit like conflicted or confused, or I don't know what the word is. I really cannot predict where it's going to go. I feel the other 3 series are starting to mold a little bit. We can kind of see where things are going, right? And it's been all over the place. You had game 1, OKC up big, Denver comes back. We have that little clunky ending where OKC's fouling for some reason. And then you got game 2 where it was just like a 40-something point win. And like, obviously Denver was just happy to get one. And you got this game where, yes, you've said it all year long. Oklahoma City has the most double-digit wins in history, but in the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of close games, and they have proven, at least in this series, that when it's close, they get a little tight, and you have to favor the champs, right? Not the most recent champs, but they have a lot of championship DNA. You have to favor them in these moments because they know what it takes. And Aaron Gordon, I remember when the Lakers played them a couple years ago, they were swept. I remember thinking like, okay, you can't let anybody else, if you give up an Aaron Gordon 3-pointer or if you foul him, I'll take that any day of the week, right? If he's going to beat you, he's going to beat you. But now it's like, you cannot leave Aaron Gordon alone. And it is honestly what he's done with this game. He's obviously worked his ass off in the offseason because now he hits obviously the deep ball. His defensive prowess is still there. He's a great defender. He's a good free throw shooter. He hit 2 big free throws in game 1, and obviously hit the big shot to win the game too. And so, in a game where Joker wasn't from a obviously scoring perspective, and he didn't shoot the ball well. He had 20 points in a game that he really didn't play that great. Denver has to be feeling pretty good getting that victory. And so game 4, man, buckle up. OKC's got to get it. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, what do you kind of foresee in game 4?
Yeah, I expect OKC to bring that game that they normally, where you just go, okay, they're ready to come win this game. I think Denver will respond, and it'll be one of those games that'll just go back and forth. I don't see like OKC just coming out and blowing out Denver in game 4 or anything like that. So I said from the beginning, I think this will be the most exciting series and the closest series. And I think every game from now on out will kind of be that. And my thing is like, just when you start to see Jamal Murray start to do his thing, start to go off a little bit and kind of get the momentum he gets in the playoffs. I mean, for us Laker fans, we know this way too well. And when you see it and you see him kind of getting explosive, hitting some threes, hitting some layups, you're kind of like, oh no, here comes Denver, right? And then the icing on the cake is Gordon. And then actually, I mean, we got to give some props to Michael Porter Jr. because he had a great game, hit about 5 threes. He's been playing with that labrum injury in the shoulder, which he would normally be out about 4 to 6 weeks. So you got to give him credit for playing through his injury and then also just being there for his team.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, we know he missed like a lot of games towards the end of the year, and he came back. And so I think he took a couple games to kind of settle in the playoffs, and he's probably just healthy right now. He's playing like how Murray played during that championship run. And, Michael Porter's Jr. is gutting it out, obviously. They're getting some minutes from Watson. They're getting some minutes from Westbrook. And so they are in pretty good shape. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I think this is like a 7-game series. I think if there was one series that was going to go 7, and there could be a couple, but I think this one has a 7-game series written all over it.
Yeah, I thought this was going to go from the get-go.
Yeah,
like, at least 7. And it's just going to be every game. I mean, except for game 2, obviously, it was just like either Denver was completely tired from the first round and that first game that they came back from. But yeah, I see this going 7. And I think OKC wins tomorrow and kind of evens it up, or it'd be surprising if Denver puts the pressure on them and goes up 3-1, which I picked Denver to win the series, so I'll kind of stick with that. But it's gonna be interesting to see how OKC responds, because this is the first time that they're really like down and out in this playoffs. Obviously down 2-1, had no problems in the first round. So let's see what they're made of.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what the Young Bucks are made of. I think you talked about the altitude, so I think they're maybe game 4 they'll be a little bit more used to it because they'll have an extra day or two out there, and so I think that game 3 they were exhausted, and for a young team, it's crazy to see, but like that Mile High is no joke, and so I do feel, if again could be wrong, but if I had to predict, I could see them getting game 4. Just because it's, I don't know. I don't see him going out like that. And so,
yeah.
But that's an early start tomorrow, 12:30, Pacific time. And so we'll know pretty early what that series is gonna look like going forward.
That's for sure. And before we get out of here, I want to hear, so now that we're almost halfway through this second round, what are your predictions? Who's coming out of this round? Who you got on the East and who do you got on the West?
I'm thinking, if I had to choose, like I think I'm Boston and Cleveland Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just thinking, I have a feeling it's going to be that, and then I'm going to go OKC Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. What about you?
I told you that Brunson would get the Knicks too, and that's probably all they're going to get. So I see Boston winning in that series. I also, me watching Mobley and kind of seeing back, I think that Cleveland will end up winning that series as well. So it'd be pretty remarkable. But those two teams that started 0-2 at home will be the 6th and 7th team ever to kind of come back from 0-2 deficit at home.
That'd be crazy. If they both do it, the odds are only one of them aren't. Maybe one will, one won't. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I also think that would make a very, very, very appealing Eastern Conference Finals if that were the case. And then on the West, I am still sticking with Denver. I feel that they just have a championship that can't knock, and it's something that it sucks for young, talented teams. But there's something about when you've been there before and you've won a championship and you know how to do it, that usually kind of gets them to the top there. And then I will give the Warriors in 7. I feel like they're going to win game 4. Minnesota probably get game 5. And then we see the return of Steph Curry in game 6. And gets it in game 7. So that's going to be an interesting series to see play out. But I kind of see those 14 surviving and moving forward.
Yeah, no, yeah, it could obviously there could be a lot of different combinations. And you're right. I've never felt so about a team that's up 2-1 like the Knicks. Like I've never felt so uneasy about a team like or lack of confidence that they're going to finish it up. And so. Yeah, I think regardless, we're gonna have a couple good, conference finals, and so, man, it's starting to get real good for sure.
All right, so we will be back more likely on Monday night after those games. But until then, the Hoops Rehab team is out, and we will see you all on Monday. Take care. Peace out.
Happy Mother's Day, y'all.
Hey, happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there, and any of you guys, please tell your mothers and your wives Happy Mother's Day. See you.
Please do.